And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news on this Friday. I'm Andrea Lutz. Those in Gallatin County are taking time to remember Tom Duffy. He's the Bozeman pilot and former Montana State University basketball player who died in a helicopter crash helping to battle fires in Oregon. MTN's Annie Johnson has more.
It was a tragic accident that ended the life of a Bozeman helicopter pilot. But instead of focusing on his death, those who were impacted by his life choose to remember him with laughter.
What we'll all remember about Tom is him squeezing himself into helicopters and then being able to fly those helicopters like nobody else can.
He's such a great pilot. I mean, I've flown with him. He was just incredible up there.
The Bozeman pilot died in a helicopter accident Monday, but his community gathered to honor and say their final farewells Thursday.
I'm here just to pay my respects and just say goodbye. Just say goodbye.
Duffy used his skills as a pilot serving various organizations like the Gallatin County Search and Rescue.
It's a sad day for us all. We're gonna certainly miss Tom and his skill as a rescue pilot here in Gallatin County. The things he's done for the community here has been invaluable.
And he'll be remembered not only for his efforts to his community, but also his heart for others.
Just a great guy, a pillar of the community, generosity, a big heart. He'll be missed.
He's a size and a half man with a heart to match that, and a kind, gentle giant that was funny to try and watch crawl himself into a helicopter, but absolutely one of the world's greatest mountain pilots.
Duffy's funeral service and burial will be held privately and only open to close friends and family. Reporting at the Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
And Duffy owned several businesses in Bozeman. If you remember, at 6/11, he led shot blocking in the conference for Montana State. All right, it is time to check in with the weather as we get into Friday. Everyone's always thinking about how the weather's going to be, Ed.
Especially if you start getting to the end of the summer and you start thinking about all of those things that you wish you would have been doing in the other weeks. But this weekend is shaping up very nice, especially today with lots of sunshine. We take a look from Polson out across a Flathead Lake here this hour towards the capital city, some blue sky. There is a little bit of a haze in a few places, but really air quality issues haven't been a big concern. All the way up towards Whitefish, it's busy, but clear skies and sunshine, comfortable temperatures around the Billings area here as of midday, and looking at plenty more sunshine through the afternoon. The heat builds in tomorrow and then a drastic change in the overall weather picture. We'll take a look at those forecast details coming up in just several minutes from now.
Thanks, Ed. Montana adding 2 additional deaths when it comes to COVID-19. Those deaths being recorded in Yellowstone and Beaverhead counties. Montana health officials report Montana's death toll now comes to a stand of 100. Governor Steve Bullock calling the number today a somber statistic. The total number of cases is now at more than 7,100. Active COVID cases are at 1,800. And there have been over 5,100 recoveries so far in our state. Health experts are forecasting thousands more lives will be lost to COVID-19. More than 180,000 people have died from the coronavirus in the United States. By September 19th, the Centers for Disease Control believe more than 200,000 people will die from getting the virus. That's thousands more deaths than the CDC projected just last week. A Three Forks man is facing criminal mischief charges for setting flags on fire that support President Donald Trump. Earlier this month, Julie O'Rourke looked out her window to find something smoldering in her front yard. Her security camera caught someone stumbling up the front porch, pulling the flags down and burning them. The Gallatin County Sheriff was able to identify a suspect from the video, and he's been cited. O'Rourke says she's more concerned with safety than politics.
I felt violated. I felt that my kids and my life and my husband's life were in danger. It could have easily burned our house down. There was a fire ban at the time of the burning, and as close as it was to the house, it was very eerie.
The Gallatin County Sheriff says the case could result in more charges and new details come to light. On Montana's campaign trail, Democrat Governor hopeful Mike Cooney unveiled his plan to boost public education in Montana. In Missoula, he called for increased state funding on public schools, preschool, and state colleges. He says Montana's public schools deserve more support during the pandemic to ensure funds carry out education duties while keeping students safe. He would plan to freeze college tuition, increase teacher pay, and expand career and technical education.
My wife and I sent our 3 kids to public schools in Montana. My son is a teacher in the public school system. And I know how important it is that our public education system is here in Montana because I've lived it.
Cooney is running against Republican Greg Gianforte in the race for Montana's governor. Montanans relying on unemployment benefits will start seeing that $400 weekly boost pretty soon. The money coming from the Lost Wages Assistance Program. That was created by an executive order from President Trump. This while Congress continues to disagree on new coronavirus stimulus money. Montana is one of a handful of states to request the benefits, and Governor Steve Bullock says many Montanans can't afford to wait for Congress to agree.
We didn't wait to act because we know that these are greatly needed benefits that put money in the pockets of Montanans and ensure that they can continue taking care of their families during this difficult time.
So at that Thursday press conference, Governor Steve Bullock also urged any asymptomatic contacts with people who are COVID-19 susceptible to get tested. That, of course, is despite new guidelines from the CDC saying the exact opposite of that. UM President Seth Bodnar says as the country is facing very challenging times, he believes universities like UM can be leaders of change moving forward. That was his message at his annual State of the University address.
We see economic growth that has, unfortunately, left many behind. We see laid bare the damaging impact of systemic racism in our institutions. But it is in times of great challenge that opportunity for hopeful renewal emerges. And at the heart of the renewal of this country must be public institutions like the University of Montana. Why? Because at its core, UM exists to foster inclusive prosperity.
Bodnar also saying that UM is making progress in areas such as student recruitment and retention, but says the pandemic will leave some financial impacts on the U. We do have more news ahead on the New News on this Friday, including a look at how Montana's School for the Deaf and Blind are navigating the changes facing schools during COVID-19. But first, the weekend is ahead, and Ed is also ahead with your statewide weather forecast.
Miles an hour in almost all of the major locations, and the air quality is actually pretty good. We're showing just slightly unhealthy air quality around Malta, and I'm wondering about the measuring there, and then also into West Yellowstone, down into Yellowstone National Park, but that's been fairly consistent here since we started to pick up a bit of wildfire smoke. Also looking at the current relative humidity numbers, 20s, 30s to 40s. There's still some fairly dry air out there, but that isn't really going to be a big concern until we start looking in towards tomorrow. Here's our satellite radar mix for today. We continue to watch those stronger upper level winds falling just shy of us. So this is taking a lot of that wildfire smoke and starting to move it more into southern Wyoming, northern Colorado, and less of an influence on us, at least here in the short term. So while we have a high pressure area building in, we have a weak ridge for today, bringing us pretty comfortable conditions in the mid 70s to mid 80s. The smoke staying mainly to the south of us, but tomorrow as that ridge builds in, it's going to push more of the smoke back into the region. The bigger concern for tomorrow are the low humidity, the warming temperatures, and then add to it some wind along this cold front, and that's going to increase fire risk tomorrow in northern and western Montana through the afternoon. Into the eastern plains of Montana, we'll see the hottest temperatures, a lot of readings moving all the way up into the upper 80s to mid 90s, but with less wind, there's less problems as far as wildfires. Still, critical fire conditions there. We'll be watching that for enhanced fire conditions across almost the entire area. Now, as the front moves through Saturday night into Sunday, it's going to create areas of showers, thunderstorms, some strong winds to go along with it. But then the cool air spills in on Sunday. The temperatures will take a noticeable drop down as we start getting into the afternoon and stay there through Monday. Temperatures into the 80s today across much of the state, some 70s in the mix as well, but generally temperatures are very close to the 30-year average for this time of the year. Looking for overnight readings to drop down into the 40s in western Montana and the valleys, otherwise 50s across the eastern plains. Again, mostly clear and fairly quiet. Tomorrow, with that front approaching, we'll have those fire weather concerns across western and central Montana, but into the eastern plains, it's about how warm will it get out of that next cold front. It'll push a few clouds around, and other than isolated storms for the mountains, we've really got a fairly quiet weather picture for us. Temperatures in the 80s, and then watch that big drop Sunday into Monday around Missoula and Kalispell, looking for readings only in the 60s to start the new work week. Great Falls and Helena, plenty of sun, and then Saturday night into Sunday, we'll pick up a chance of showers and noticeably cooler temperatures by the end of the weekend. For Butte and Bozeman, looking at temperatures to be into the 80s. Watch that quick drop down, a good 25 degrees cooler to 30 degrees cooler as we go from Saturday to Sunday. And the eastern plains will also see a significant cool down from the low 90s to possibly the low 60s around the Billings area. And much of that could be early in the day. We can actually see the temperatures just kind of level off and stay there with some breaks of sunshine to follow and some cool overnight lows as well. There's a look at the weather. Back to you, Andrea.
All right, thanks, Ed. The pandemic makes going back to school a much bigger challenge for students, teachers, and even families this year. And especially for the hearing and visually impaired, it's even harder. A few days into their first week back, MTN's Zach Shermley checked in with the Montana School for the Deaf and the Blind.
The school year has officially started here in Montana. It's one bound for the history books. Teachers across the state tackling the challenges of in-person learning during a pandemic.
The pandemic has created all sorts of challenges for schools here in Great Falls, but none of those challenges are felt greater than here at the Montana School for the Deaf and Blind.
Rely on using lip reading, and with that mask, it just intervenes with that.
Masks, they're not just a barrier for the virus, but for the hearing impaired, for communication as well.
All my life I depended on reading lips, so now it's like with more people, I'm like, say it again, say it again.
We've had a lot of changes here at MSDB.
MSDB has implemented most of the same public health measures as other schools in Great Falls and across the state, including mandatory face shields, social distancing, temperature checks, limits on large gatherings, and hand washing. But here, those changes come with much greater logistical challenges.
Some of the masks we wear our shields like this so that our students, particularly our deaf, hard of hearing students, can read our lips and see our facial expressions. It's been very challenging for the visually impaired students because we tend to work closely in close physical proximity with them, and we're not able to do that now.
School officials say they have to work extra hard, regularly cleaning technology and getting creative with mask wearing to keep students safe. MSDB is the only school of its kind in the state attracting students and family from across the Northwest. It's a one-of-a-kind learning experience that completely changed when the school had to transition to online learning.
It was definitely a challenge and a pretty steep learning curve.
I am totally happy to be back because of the interaction with people.
Despite the extra challenges, overwhelmingly students and staff here at MSDB happy to be back and eager to start the new year ahead. In Great Falls, I'm Zach Shermley, MTN News.
So many challenges and changes to navigate right now. Your latest Ag News is coming up next with Russell Nemens.
Now, here's your Farm and Ranch report from the Montana Ag Network.
Hi everybody, it's time for your Farm and Ranch news. Well, the USDA is extending the deadline until November 20th for the Soil Health and Income Protection Program, a new program that enables farmers to receive payments for planting perennial cover for conservation use for 3 to 5 years. Now, sign up opened back on March 30th for the pilot program, which of course is part of the Conservation Reserve Program and is available to producers in Iowa, Minnesota, here in Montana, along with North Dakota and South Dakota. Through SHIP, producers establish perennial cover on less productive cropland in exchange for payments and can enroll up to 50,000 acres in the program. Now, for more details, contact your local FSA office or visit fsa.usda.gov/CRP. In some other news today, you know, the quick pace of U.S. corn and soybean sales, in particular to China, is one of the biggest factors behind a new USDA forecast that shows U.S. ag exports rising to $140.5 billion in fiscal year 2021, which, by the way, starts on October 1st. USDA's initial prediction for the upcoming fiscal year is $5.5 billion higher than the latest forecast for fiscal year 2020, which is a reduction from previous forecasts. U.S. ag exports for fiscal year 2020 are now predicted to be just $135 billion, down from USDA's May forecast of $136.5 billion and the lowest since 2016. And economists are quick to point out that this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic is one of the main reasons why. Stay with us. We'll have more ag news right after this. Where is that more evident than in the continuing growth of FFA and agricultural education? In fact, the National FFA organization has announced a record high student membership of 760,113, an increase from last year's 700,170 members. Now, the top 5 student membership states are Texas, California, Georgia, Florida, and Oklahoma. And in case you're wondering, 44% of the membership is female, with 51% of the membership male, and FFA chapters can be found in 24 of the 25 largest U.S. cities nationwide. And finally today, the Montana Department of Agriculture's annual pesticide disposal event will take place in several locations across Montana during September. The collection events will take place September 15th in Kalispell, September 16th in Polson, September 17th in Hamilton, and September 18th in Butte. Of course, the program was designed to help individuals dispose of any pesticides that are unusable as originally intended and can't be used for any other purpose. The department asked the participants pre-register online by September 10th, and you can do so by visiting the website, which is currently on your screen. Well, that's going to do it for your Farm and Ranch News. Have a great day.
So toilet paper became a luxury item during the pandemic because it was hard for people to find it, of course. But a new study shows people already spend plenty of money on it in a lifetime. A survey of 2,000 Americans found they spend $182 a year on toilet paper. That number a little bit closer to $200, of course, during the pandemic. Over the course of a lifetime, guess this, it adds up to about $11,000. Who would have thought you would spend that much money on toilet paper?
Well, a lot of people use toilet paper like it's made from trees.
They do, yes, they do. Just depends on who you are, you know? You might use a lot, you might use a little, I don't know. Anyway. Okay, let's talk about weather, Ed.
Okay.
Maybe.
No. We had a mainly clear. Our cameraman is laughing. Temperatures mainly in the 80s this afternoon. We got plenty of sunshine across the area, and he's not helping. Temperatures cool down significantly into early next week. And overnight, I apologize. Temperatures mainly into the 60s, and when we start to warm up, we'll be back up to around seasonal temperatures. That'll be pretty consistent across the state.
It never breaks. He never breaks. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Way to end the Friday. Everyone have a great day.